The fjord woke beneath a steel blue sky. Through the mist, longships moved without hesitation. Across the sea, an Irish village stirred in soft morning light. Smoke rose from thatched roofs as fishermen prepared their nets. It was the kind of morning that felt safe. At the bow stood Bjorn, broad as oak against the wind. His hands were shaped by war and weather. In his steady eyes, there was restraint. Oars struck water in steady rhythm. Each pull carried fate closer. Ciara trained along the shoreline, her staff cutting through the air. Her footing steady in the sand, movement strong and precise. She believed strength could keep danger away. Then the horn sounded across the coastline, low and distant. The note carried over water and stone, impossible to mistake. Morning ended in a single breath. Ships tore into the surf, wood grinding against stone. Boots crashed into the shallows as warriors surged forward. The tide's quiet rhythm vanished. Villagers scattered between huts, smoke rising behind them. Mothers pulled children close. Fathers searched for weapons that felt too small. Fear moved faster than flame. Ciara did not run. She planted her feet and swung her staff with fierce precision, striking hard and fast. For a heartbeat, the chaos bent around her strength. Bjorn stepped forward, placing himself between her and the next raised blade. He did not strike her down. He simply held his ground, shielding her from the violence behind him. His voice never needed to rise above the chaos. One hard look was enough to still his own men. Even in the heat of violence, he chose control over cruelty. She twisted free and tried to run for the trees. Her cloak snapped in the wind, then tightened in his grasp. Freedom slipped from her fingers as the world closed in around them, their eyes locked in the middle of the smoke and shouting. Her anger burned bright, fierce and unbroken. He met it without mockery, only steady restraint. He bound her wrists with a strip of cloth, firm and deliberate, not rough enough to wound. His hands held the line, nothing more. In front of them, smoke rolled across the sky. The roof she had known since childhood vanished beneath ash. The sea waited, silent and patient. Night settled over the long ship, cold and endless. She sat apart, eyes fixed on unfamiliar stars. The ocean carried her farther from home. Bjorn crossed the deck without a word and set a waterskin beside her. He did not linger, nor did he demand thanks. It was a small mercy in a night that offered none. She stared at the waterskin, weighing pride against need. Her throat burned from salt air and fear. At last, she lifted it and drank, though trust felt dangerous. The ship moved through silver moonlight. Waves brushed the hull, steady and unfeeling. Silence stretched between them. Bjorn remained standing in the dark. His eyes moved carefully across the deck. No one would cross the space around her. She glanced at him only briefly, careful not to be seen. For a heartbeat, curiosity replaced anger. Then she turned away, guarding her thoughts as fiercely as her freedom. By morning, the fjords rose from the mist. Dark forests clung to steep cliffs above cold waters. It was a land as unyielding as its people. Villagers gathered along the dock as she stepped onto foreign soil. Their eyes followed her every movement, curious and cautious. In their silence, she felt the weight of being an outsider. Inside the longhouse, firelight flickered along wooden beams. Smoke curled toward the roof fence. Warmth filled the space, but not the distance around her. Bjorn stood before a single elder near the fire. Their voices stayed low, but the tension was clear. He spoke with quiet resolve, refusing to let her become a thing. She was led to a small space along the wall, set apart from the others. A rough blanket waited there, thin but clean. It was not freedom, but it was not cruelty either. A bowl of stew and bread were set beside her. Steam rose in the dim light. No words came with it, only the choice to let her eat. When the room fell quiet, she rose and tested the wooden latch. To her surprise, it lifted easily beneath her hand. The door opened a crack, and Freedom stood waiting in the dark. As murmurs rose, a villager stepped forward to bar the door. Bjorn moved first, placing himself between them and Ciara. With a single look, the villagers stood still. Laughter drifted through the longhouse, steady and familiar. She listened from the doorway to a life not hers. The fire warmed her skin, but not her heart. Morning frost covered the ground outside. She washed her face in icy water, breath rising in pale clouds. The cold steadied her. Bjorn approached and held out a heavy wool cloak. He stopped at a careful distance, offering it without a word. The gesture carried quiet warmth. She looked up at him, searching his face for something hidden. There was no triumph there, only patience. For the first time, her anger wavered. Snow began to fall across the fjord, soft and steady. Winter arrived without asking who was ready. She stood at the edge of the fjord, wind tugging at her borrowed cloak. The water stretched wide beneath the pale sky. Somewhere beyond it lay the life she had lost. Bjorn watched her from a distance, standing against the winter wind. He did not step closer. Two lives bound by violence, and something neither understood.